We'd like to welcome you to the 2016-2017 Club 1 volleyball season. My name is Bree Isaacson and I am the club director.
And my name is Bridget Hack and I'm the business manager.
And what we've basically done is we've put together just an informational video for our families. We took out the information that can be found in our handbook online, and we're just gonna break some things down, give a little bit more information, and then when you come to our open house on Monday, if you have any further questions regarding anything that we discussed, feel free to ask us. So the first thing that I'd like to go over is the USAV registration. Every athlete in our program has to have a USAV registration, and you had to have one for the tryout. But now if you just purchased a temporary registration, you'll need to secure a full season registration, which is $55. So this is not something for us. This is required for every club athlete in our region in Illinois, and it will be good until October 31st of next year. The other thing that's important for us is that prior to the start of our practices, that all forms and paperwork is turned in. So what will happen is you guys probably saw a list or step-by-step, or it's below after you're done watching this video, of all the paperwork necessary for your daughter to be properly registered. You can print that, you'll bring it into the open house, and then if for some reason you aren't there or some reason there's some paperwork missing, once we get through all of it, Bridget will reach out to you, let you know what you're missing, and let you know where to find it. We like to get it all collected as soon as possible, but it will need to be done before that third week of November when we begin, and no athlete will be able to start practices without it. So we'll do a great job of communicating with you. We'll be very clear as to what you're missing. We'll send multiple emails, but just know if anything is missing that first day of practice, Bridget comes, she kind of sits, she checks everybody in, and we just make sure we have everything before we officially get started. So on to practice information. So practices for us, we're doing something new this year, and I'm going to kind of break it down. This will be new also for our returning families. What we're going to do is the week of November 17th, well, I guess that's not the week of, that's the Thursday. November 17th is that Thursday. Through the 20th for our youth program, we're going to run an evaluation clinic. So unlike before, we would just start, we'd have our regular practices, we go through several weeks of practice, and then we decide teams. We're going to do this evaluation clinic November 17th through the 20th. You'll have multiple practices for your age divisions in there, and that's where Coach Bridget, myself, and other people are going to start to put teams together. The official week of practice is November 28th. So we have the week of Thanksgiving off this year. We have found in the past that people travel, we're missing numbers, and it's extremely difficult to evaluate and to get the most out of those practices when we have that the week of Thanksgiving. Many school districts have gone to that entire week being off now, Plainfield, where I live, being one of them. So we know that people use that opportunity to travel. Practices for our 12U program will be on Tuesdays and Fridays. Practices for our 13U program will be Wednesdays and Fridays. And then practices for our 14U program will be Monday, Thursday, and Sundays on weekends that they don't play. An exact practice schedule, times, and all of that will be emailed out once we get through tryouts and open house. It will also be posted directly on our website. Couple rules of thumb for practice. We ask that our athletes arrive 15 minutes early. It just allows them to get ready before the start of practice. If your daughter's going to be late or absent, we ask that they communicate directly with the coach prior to the start of practice. Right now we know that our families don't know who their coaches are, so right now you can communicate directly with Bridget and myself. Once coaches are assigned, we do ask that the kids communicate with them. Obviously, if there's an emergency or something like that, feel free to reach out to your coach as well. Our athletes are allowed 3 excused absences for the year. Those are for you to decide, a family function, homework, whatever the case is. We ask you to use them wisely. We know that volleyball is a team sport, and we want our athletes in the gym together as teams as often as possible. Obviously, if someone's very ill or things outside the norm happen, we will absolutely work together to form a great plan moving forward. And the only exception really to this is multiple sport athletes, and I'll touch on that next. So the other thing is practice attire is that for right now when they come into practice, they'll wear a t-shirt, they will wear spandex, knee pads, socks, shoes, hair back, shirts tucked in. If you are a returning Club One player, you will wear your Club One t-shirts you've had in the past. If you are a new player, any athletic t-shirt will do until your Club One t-shirts come in, and we'll get those to you as soon as we can. One additional thing is that parents, just so you guys have a heads up, our practices are closed to our families, and it isn't because we don't want you to see what we're doing, and it isn't because we mind you watching us work. It's just directly related to the amount of kids we have in the space that we have in the gym. There's just not a lot of extra space. I'm sure you'll see when you're dropping off or picking up that we use the outside perimeter of the court for conditioning and plyouts for our older teams who come in after, and there's just not a lot of great space. So we do open it up the first Monday of every month for our families to come in and watch. We set up our practice gym accordingly. We maybe don't do some of the things that we normally do so that we have more space. But if there was ever a concern about something with practices, obviously feel free to reach out to Bridget and myself, and we'd be more than happy to help you with that. One additional thing is that we have multiple teams in an age division. So just so our families understand that team selection, we will look at team selection over our evaluation clinic, which is the 17th through the 20th. And then we will look that first week we officially start the 28th, and then teams will be divided from there. We feel confident with that amount of time we'll be able to put our athletes on teams, but just know no teams are decided until after we get into the gym. Moving on to multiple sport athletes, we do encourage our athletes to be involved in more than one thing. The only thing that we ask is that we have great communication between our families, our athletes, and then our coaching staff so we can maximize the time our athletes are in the gym. If your daughter is playing for her school team, all we ask is that you provide a practice and game schedule to the coach. That way we know when they're going to be there and when they're not. And then even if your daughter can only come for 15 or 20 minutes or she has to leave early, we just ask that you guys make the effort to be there as often as you can. We do know there's some times where you won't be able to, but that way we'll allow our team still to advance forward as well as the individual players on each team. Now we move into tournament information. So the exact tournament schedule isn't complete yet. We do have it 95-97% done. We just need to get through the tryout process to know exactly where our teams are. And what we'll do is once it's complete, we'll post it on our website, and we will also blast it out to you guys in an individual email so you have it as well. We know as busy moms ourselves, 8 kids between the two of us, how important schedules are. So we'll make sure that you get it so that you can plan. It will be the schedule entirely for the season, January through that first weekend of June. But one thing you can plan on is playing on average 2 times per month. That's definitely the goal. And then once you have the schedule, you'll know exactly what we're doing for the season. And then you just may not know the exact start times. One rule of thumb that Bridget and I always talk about is you may not know your play time on your tournament schedule until the Wednesday before. So if you play this Sunday, you know you play Sunday, it's on the calendar, but it may be that Wednesday before where we're able to send out to you, hey, we need to be there at 8, or hey, we need to be there at 10, because host sites are reluctant to pass it out until they can confirm all teams are available to play. A general rule of thumb that we also have is arrive 1 hour before you play, 45 minutes before you officiate. Again, your coaches will communicate this to you, but just so you have a heads up, if you're playing at 8 a.m., just plan on being there at 7. Every athlete must stay until all playing and officiating duties are complete. And we just ask that because sometimes after you lose, or sometimes even if there isn't a loss match that happens, you do still have to stay and officiate. We ask that everybody does that. And then once our responsibilities as a team and club are complete, everybody is free to go. The last thing about tournaments is that we do ask that you respect the host site's food policies. There isn't anywhere that we are aware of that you will go for a tournament where they will let you bring outside food in. If you choose not to eat in their concession stands, pack a cooler, eat it in the car in an off time. As the weather's nice in the spring, eat it outside. Just please don't eat inside their facility. They can ask you to leave if we have outside food. If anybody has a special allergy, diabetes, gluten, whatever it is, is and needs special circumstances, please just email Bridget or myself, and we will email the host site directly and form a plan so that we can properly take care of our athletes as well. As we move on to playing time, coaches determine what position your child plays and how long they will play in a match. We will have more than 6 players on a team, and certain players have different roles on it. So we will make sure, especially at the youth level, that everybody kind of knows what their role is. We'll stay in touch with them about things that they need to do to continue to grow and develop, and encourage and challenge them in practice. If a player misses a ton of practices and those practices aren't made up, it could affect someone's play time. We would communicate that as well. We do have a makeup policy at Club One. So if, for instance, if somebody's sick on a Monday and they miss their practice and they want to make up that practice to get back time lost, they absolutely can do that on a different practice night with a team that's 1 year older than them. So we don't encourage older girls to practice with younger kids. We just don't think they can get the most out of it. But we encourage you have a school function, a family function you have to miss, we encourage you, make up that practice if you can. If you are unhappy, if your daughter is unhappy about the playtime, we ask that your daughter go directly to the coach first, ask what they need to do. We feel confident our coaching staff will already be in communication with the athletes regardless. If after a certain amount of time, we just don't seem to get it resolved, then we can all sit down as a staff and as coaches and as players and parents, we can all sit down together to work, and form a plan. We do have a 24-hour rule at Club One, and we really do ask that our families follow this. We feel very fortunate that our families are as good as they are, and we haven't really had a problem with this, but I do just want to mention it. If something happens, someone's really upset about something, playtime, whatever the case is, we ask that you wait 24 hours to send an email, to contact the coach, to make a phone call, just so that everybody can settle down, calm down, and then we can actually have a productive meeting. So we do enforce that 24-hour rule. And one other thing that I just want to mention is on our red teams, we do not guarantee any playtime. So certainly we put our teams out there. We put the right kids on the teams so that they have the opportunity to grow and develop. We know they're young, but on our red teams, it's our expectation that our athletes work exceptionally hard, as it is for all of our teams, but that they're going to have to fight and earn play time. And on that team, just so everybody has a heads up, we do not guarantee play time on a red team. The last thing that we ask is that you guys remember that our coaches dedicate lots and lots of hours at practices and at tournaments, and that we would never ever embarrass your child, and we would ask for our coaches the same respect back. We did a couple years ago add a parent expectation to our handbook. I'm going to just go over it very quickly. To be respectful of the club coaches and players, to demonstrate good sportsmanship at practices and tournaments, not only to Club One families, but other teams, coaches, and officials as well, to support the development of each player on the team, to follow proper chain of command. And then we do have, failure to follow these expectations can be grounds for an athlete's removal. And again, we put this in here as precautionary. We've done this long enough that we've seen some crazy stuff at tournaments, but we feel very grateful and confident that that is never and will never happen with our families. But we do just put that information out there. We move on to mid-season evaluations. This is one thing that we do in mid-season, so that would be like March-ish of our season. We have a standard form. It evaluates serving. It actually doesn't evaluate serving, but we're going to put that on there. It evaluates.
It does now.
Hold me to that. Passing, setting, attacking, blocking, defense, and then we talk about one great thing your daughter's doing, one thing that they need to work on. And basically what we do is we invite the parent to come. It's like a little conference at school. It's about 5 minutes. We go over it, and then everybody kind of has a good idea where we're at and then where we're moving forward from there. So you'll get an email from your daughter's coach. It will invite you to it. If you choose to attend, you email back and you secure a time slot. If you don't, that meeting will be had regardless with your daughter, and that form will come home so you can take a look at it and go over it with her as well. We move on to travel information, and our 12s do not travel. So if you're in the 12-year program, this does not pertain to you. Our 13s and 14s do one travel trip for the season. So our 13s and 14s will either go to the St. Louis/Indy, which is called MEQ qualifier, or the Wisconsin Dells. And where you go is based on team selection. So you will get a formal travel letter once your child is placed onto a team. The 13s will travel to St. Louis in March, and those dates are March 17th through the 19th. And the 14s teams that are going would actually travel to Indy March 31st through April 2nd. Those teams going to the Dells would travel to the Dells in April, but they have not confirmed their date yet. So once we have that, we'll pass that information along. All athletes stay with their families when you travel. So the fees that you incur for travel are the fees that we incur as a club to send a team. And what will happen is I will send out a travel letter. We are part of USA Volleyball, which means they have a stay to play policy. And what that means is that they dictate where we stay. So we request rooms based on the number of teams we're sending, and they come back to me and say, this is where you can stay based on your needs. They will secure a block, we get a confirmation number, and then what will happen is I'll put out a travel letter with all the details that we have at that time, as well as the hotel information, and then you'll log on and secure a room for you and your daughter or anybody else who needs one directly through their site. So just be alert that that travel letter will come out fairly shortly after we get our team situated, and then you can look to secure your rooms from there. A couple other things that I just have on my end: spirit wear. Just be looking for a spirit wear store. People have asked us already, and so we'll send out a blast. You have a short window, you secure it, and then it gets mailed directly to your house. So that will be coming out soon. One other thing that I have is, we have a website. I'm sure many of you have been to it. It's www.club1volleyball.com. And we also have a Facebook page. We have an Instagram page. Please make sure to check all those different sites. Our website keeps all of our information, practice schedules, tournament schedules, but we also use our other social media accounts as a way to celebrate club successes, athletes committing to college, and different things that we're doing within the community. So be sure to check those often. Also, if we had a crazy weather situation, we'd use the website and Facebook to communicate, obviously, in the winter months for our families as well. Two more things that I just have. Our parking lot is not overly large. We have the parking on the side of Club One where the garages are. We have the parking in front, but as you leave Club One, if you were to go straight out of our parking lot and into the building with the CrossFit and other things like that, we are not allowed to park in there. So just make sure, if you cannot find a spot in our actual building, please know you can park on Coil Plus Drive, which runs directly behind our building, and also in the Public Works building, which is across the street. The last thing I just wanted to mention, which is going to be a little bit different this year than what we've done in the past, is that everybody's going to need a volleyball for tournaments this year. We've in the past been taking our own balls from the gym to tournaments. We're struggling to get all the balls back, number one, and then number two, for those teams who aren't on the road, we don't have enough balls at times for them for practices. So if your daughter has a good volleyball, we're going to make sure that our athletes just bring them with to all tournaments. They'll keep them in their bag. They'll use those to warm up. If they don't, on our spirit wear form, we will offer a high quality volleyball at a discounted price. Feel free to purchase one for your daughter as well. But just so everyone's on the same page for tournaments, we just are expecting our athletes to bring balls with them so we can have a great warm up as well. So I think that's it for me. I'm going to turn it over to Bridget, and she's going to talk financials.